Friday night fights here in Ontario, California. Of course, you can log on to ESPNLosAngeles.com to check out a Sports Center segment just for you, the Southern Cal sports fans. Some of the top stories are talking about
Ladies and
Phil
gentlemen,
Jackson's going to come back for one more go of it. And the Clippers, one of the teams, getting set for their meeting with free agent LeBron James. At this point, Teddy, I'm surprised that Friday Night Fights is not putting a package together to recruit LeBron James. Seems everybody is, right?
Is he a southpaw or orthodox?
He'd be good, I know that.
Inside or outside fighter?
You'd love to train him starting at about 16 years old. What a prospect he would have been. Next up, 4 rounds, William Walton and Joseph Elegele. The unbeaten Elegele at 8-0 and 6 knockouts. There is William Walton. He comes from Salt Lake City, Utah. He turned pro in 06, had gaps of inactivity, didn't fight in 2008, and this is his first fight here in 2010. 4-1 with 3 knockouts, 5'7", 145.5. Gives up plenty of height to Joseph Elegele. Elegele is a 6-foot-tall, 143-pound fighter. Fights out of Florida. Both fighters southpaws. Elegele is 8-0 with 6 knockouts. Wayne Hedgepeth is the referee, and they are scheduled for 4 rounds.
Joe, Elegele has been tremendously active since turning pro 8 months ago.
Touch yourself about time. Touch him up.
I mean, Joe, this is his 9th fight. A little better than 1 fight a month. Matter of fact, he had 2 fights in February.
It's the way it should be.
Yeah, it is the way it should be.
It's the way it should be.
That's how you learn. That's how you become calmer, more confident, better at anything you do. If you're a doctor and you happen to be a surgeon, you do more surgery, guess what? You operate a little bit better. Walton took this fight on 4 days' notice. Not a lot of good fighters from Utah, not too many. And Walton's been inactive. It's been 10 months since he's been in the ring. And 2 fights back, he was off 1 year and 8 months. So we'll see what we get from Walton. And we know what we got in front of us. We have 2 southpaws. And one of them, Mr. Elegele, is a lot bigger, a lot longer. All fights for Walton have been in his home state of Utah. Easy to get soft opponents to build up a record there. Walton had 20 amateur fights and Elegele had 77. So the size advantage, the experience advantage should be to Elegele.
Drove that left hand after flicking out that long jab coming from far range. There's a good, solid, straight left hand to the body from Elegele.
We haven't had too many fighters, good fighters from Utah recently, but if you go back to the golden years of boxing, we had a very good fighter from Utah, Mr. Gene Fullmer, former middleweight champ.
Elegele missing with that right hook.
And you would
good, solid left hand that staggered Walton back.
Elegele is doing just what you would expect him to do with his big, not only just size advantage, but with that wingspan that he has. He's keeping Walton at a disadvantage on the outside. Setting punches off the jab, and then by controlling distance, doing that, forcing Walton to get careless and catching him on the way in.
I like the disposition of Elegele. He has a great sense of identity, too.
That's a good point, Joe. He understands what he is, just like the Klitschko's, who master the heavyweight division right now, understand what they are. They're big, they're tall, and they fight.
He got stunned right there, Teddy.
He did. He allowed Walton to get close, and Walton landed a left hand.
He got stunned right there. And now Walton gains confidence. Heck of a first round we have.
Elegele staying with his identity, still staying on the outside, looking to catch Walton on the way in, create distance and create mistakes for Walton.
Just as we're lauding Elegele, all of a sudden a defensive lapse, and it makes for a highly entertaining first round. Fun swing bout here before our main event. Stay tuned for more Walton and Elegele.
They both landed big punches. Look at Elegele first. He jabs, he steps back a little bit, creates a little bit of an opening, and he catches Walton with the left hand. Now the other one, Walton comes in. He's allowed to get in with the taller Elegele, and he catches him over the top with the left hand. That's a great example of where being tall is a detriment, not an advantage, because once you get close to the taller guy, as Walton did there, Joe, if the taller guy continues to stand straight, there's a lot of target, and Walton found the target that time.
Elegele in the white trunks is the good-looking 6-foot-tall junior welterweight prospect at 8-0 with 6 knockouts. Total punches, according to CompuBox, 31-5 connect advantage for Elegele.
You know, it's tough on both these guys tonight, Joe. And both of them, I mean, it's tough on Walton because he only had a couple days notice for this fight, but it's tough on both of them in a way that they're both fighting southpaws. That's very unusual. You know, usually the southpaw has the advantage. He's fighting a righty, and it's the righty who hasn't seen lefties too much, you know. But a lefty, in this case, well, they're used to fighting righties for the most part, not against fellow southpaws. So both of these guys are going to have moments where they're going to be surprised, not prepared for the angle that the punches are coming from. And that's happening right now a little bit. I mean, you know that Elegele probably had no time to get a southpaw to spar in the gym when he got Walton as a late opponent. And of course, Walton had no time. He didn't know until the last minute that he was fighting a southpaw.
3-punch combination by Elegele. There's a good, sharp left hand, but Walton is able to squat and hold his composure there.
Well, it's done again the right way. It's something you alluded to early, that Elegele understands his identity. And his identity, for the most part, he'll use his jab a little bit to set up stuff on the front end if you stand there. But then he'll step back and do that. Get you to come in, get the shorter man to reach to come in. And look to fill the spots, fill the holes with the left hand. The power punch for a southpaw a lot of times, because he can turn his back into that punch, turn his left foot into that punch. And you saw a great picture of that right there by Elegele. Turning the foot and really snapping that left shoulder forward, trying to explode that left hand. And he explodes a good left hand to the body there. And a little low to the body there.
Wayne Edgebeth warns him, digs right back to the body with a left hand on the belt line. Now tries to size up Walton with his back against the ropes. Just missed with that left hand. Coming to the end of 2, Elegele and Walton.
At the very end of the round, a knockdown by Elegele, maybe an illegal punch, but it counts. Watch it again, behind the head. The side of the head, maybe a little behind the head, and down goes Walton. Right at the end of the round, creating a 10-8 round for Elegele.
Right as we were going to commercial, at that final moment, when the bell rang, a knockdown scored by the unbeaten Joseph Elegele. We start round 3.
We're talking about the power punch for Elegele being the left hand, where that wiry body of Elegele can turn into that punch, and that's the punch that did the damage.
Good work here by Elegele. Well, a continued offensive attack.
Well, maybe good thinking. We'll find out by Elegele, Joe, because in his mind, he's figuring Walton didn't have enough time to recover. That minute in between rounds was not enough to completely clear his head after the knockdown at the end of the round. I gotta give my hat is off to Walton because he's shown me terrific courage here.
No doubt about it. And I'll tell you something else, Teddy, to bring up your discussion you had about Francisco Contreras and that this is an entertainment business, and at the early stages of your career, it's good to have a consciousness of that. I'd rather see Joseph Elegele next time out than Francisco Contreras based on what we're seeing tonight.
I agree with you, Joe, and I agree for the points that we just touched on. And we touched on, as you said, in the last fight. You know, right now, I don't know if his corner wants him giving up his height, but Elegele is doing the things that you'd want a fighter who wants to come back and be on TV again to do.
That's it.
Get inside and be a finisher, and that's what he does.
The crowd boos the stoppage by referee Wayne Hedgepath, but he knew exactly where this fight was going. And give credit to Joseph Elegele for turning on the offense in the round subsequent to scoring the knockdown at the bell and finishing. William Walton wanted to continue. He was game throughout tonight, but Elegele provided a lot of offense and a lot of entertainment in 2.5 rounds of action.
And he showed something that, as you said, Contreras didn't show, that he can close the curtain, finish the show big. He gets inside, nothing fancy, moving his hands. He's got Walton defensive and not a lot of damage down there. And you could see where Walton would be a little bit upset with the stoppage. Here's real time now. He's just moving his hands, looking for a soft spot, looking for a spot to get something clean in. And you know, I don't like it. I could see where Walton would be upset because that looked like a quick stop.
Yeah, I don't like the stoppage at all. You know what I didn't see there? I didn't see what we see a lot of times with a stoppage, and that was not an attrition stoppage. This wasn't the 9th, 10th, 11th round where he had built up a lot and he's been damaged. You didn't see the one singular punch that worries you, that gets you a stoppage early in a fight.
It's a good point, Joe. It's not like he was so damaged you said, hey, look, nothing else can happen. We know who's going to win, and we're just saving him from more damage. It wasn't that case. He was damaged a little bit, but not to that extent, not to that point where that fight should have been stopped that quickly, at least from our estimations. Walton was doing what he needed to do. He was trying to survive that moment.
You saw the graphic there that showed how dominant Elegele was through 3 rounds. Let's send it up to the ring to Thomas Schreiber.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the official time. 1 minute 37 seconds of round number 3. Our referee in charge, Wayne Hedgepath, steps in and calls a halt to the bout. Your winner by way of technical knockout and still undefeated, Joseph Elegele.
So we don't love the stoppage, but I'll tell you what, we like the fighter, and we want to see him again. Joseph Elegele. 9-0, 7 knockouts. More familiar names coming up in our main event, like this man, Hopkins, Demetrius Hopkins, taking on Mighty Mike Arnaudis. Our main event is moments away, but first, the Friday Night Fight studio in Kevin Connors.